So we're live. So that doesn't. So we can say as of 1 o'clock, there's really been not much on the social feeds. But then you realize relative to yesterday, there's never going to be that. It's going to all seem a little tame, I suppose.
Do you think everyone
But
will
basically,
remember where they were when they first heard about this?
I was talking about this with Tim Miller. I was like, was this a top five Twitter day in the history of Twitter? And I think
Absolutely.
so.
I'm talking
He's
like JFK assassination sort of like
No,
historic.
no, not quite there yet. He said it wasn't as good as the day Trump got COVID in terms of Twitter, just in terms of Twitter franticness. Um, Either way, today basically is like let's cool off and go to our respective corners and see how it goes. The only thing that like sort of note is that Trump made the rounds this morning. He had like 4 or 5 phone calls with journalists, and in each of those calls, he was like, I'm not even thinking about Elon Musk, which if you're telling everyone you're not thinking of them, you're thinking of them. And so that's where we're at. But there's been no threats to like release the Epstein files or pull government contracts or to launch impeachment campaigns, which was all happened yesterday. So it relatively calm. And my sense is honestly, Musk probably is trying to figure out like how to like kind of find an off ramp here, and Trump recognizes that he's got a bit of an upper hand, and Trump's going to let him squirm a little bit, and we'll get to a better place eventually for the two of them. But I don't know if you can put the genie back in the bottle on this one either.
I did.
But
I want to, if I could add,
go
I
ahead.
did read like an hour ago that Trump is selling his Tesla.
Oh yeah,
Saw that this morning.
Yeah.
Well, and right. I mean, some very prominent White House aides, Carolyn Levitt and Margot Martin, were recently, taking pictures in the Tesla, right? So that became like
got to take those off the social media
right.
feed at this
Are
point.
those
Yeah.
coming down? They were still up as of yesterday, but there's and that's like it's like any breakup, like that is the potential fallout here is everyone has to choose the sides in the divorce. The Doge guys, Big Balls is going to have to make a decision. Like all of these people are going to have to decide which way to go if it continues. And I think that's a big if. But Laura, just to follow up on what Sam was saying, sort of like, because Sam, you said Trump has the upper hand here, and I
Oh
think
yeah.
that's right, but I'm not sure. Laura, what do you think? By the end of yesterday, or as we sit here today, who won the last 24 hours?
I
If
mean, I
we
think
can,
Trump by a landslide.
but
YouGov did some polling yesterday, and kind of they asked Republicans which side they were on if they had to choose a side, and I think it was Trump 12-1, something like that. And Trump just has more leverage here. Like I think the point at which Elon started backing down and sending the like little "you're right" replies to people saying two grown men shouldn't be arguing. You could start to see him sort of realize what he did and ramp down is when Trump threatened to pull the $38 billion in government contracts and subsidies. There's no damning tweet that Elon could send about Trump being in the Epstein files, or Elon threatening to pull one SpaceX contract from the government. I mean, he just doesn't have the leverage that Trump does, nor remotely the popularity, as we saw with him, trying to buy the election in Wisconsin and losing it. He's got the popularity of like herpes, like he's just, nobody likes him. Republicans don't like him. Democrats don't like him. No one does. And
What is
so
herpes
it was
pulling at
really
these days,
alarmingly
Laura?
dumb for him to pick this fight.
Yeah.
you think
No.
in long term, you think that's true, Sam, too?
I'm curious what herpes' popularity rating is. And if
It can't be
Laura,
More
much
than
if
worse.
more
YouGov
than Elon,
It
Sam.
can't be
Well, I
much worse
bet.
than Elon.
if YouGov wants to pull that one, this is I think a couple things here. For Elon, yeah, I don't think we've actually ever seen something like this where someone has kind of torched their reputation in such fast and comprehensive manner. I mean, obviously, liberals are repulsed by the man for what happened with Doge and USAID, and frankly, for helping elect Donald Trump. And then you saw, that reflected in the sales for Tesla just nosediving, right? And then to then turn around and kind of like burn your bridges with Trump is it takes a little bit of I don't know, insanity and ego mixed in with ketamine. And
Have either of you ever done ketamine? Just curious to know if
no,
any of
I have
you
not.
understand the experience
Laura,
there.
No
And you
I
comment
don't
from
have.
have to.
Laura. Okay, thank you. I figured.
I
Have
have.
you done?
Uh,
And wait, just to follow up on, and kind of have to follow up. Did you do it in like a? And Laura, you don't have to talk about this if you want to, in all seriousness. But did you do it in as a recreational drug or in a therapeutic setting?
Recreational.
Okay, so which is
One
as far as
time.
we know, that's the way that Elon has been taking it, right? He hasn't been
Yeah,
like
no,
well,
that's what
no,
the
he
I
report.
think
says
he says it's therapeutic.
he says it's
Okay,
therapeutical, and then people claim that he claims he stopped doing it therapeutically a while ago, and reporting claims that he continued doing it recreationally, though he denies that.
right. Because if you're carrying around one of the little inhalers, and the Times report suggested last week, that's you've taken it out of the your therapist's office, and you're
Yeah.
now just kind of dosing yourself.
Yeah.
Um, And did you disassociate? Was it like White Lotus? Did you like disassociate, Laura?
I didn't do enough to like go into a K-hole, which they call it, a K-hole where you fully
Yeah.
like your head detaches from your body or whatever. But yeah, it was definitely like a sort of a dissociative experience. It was like an out of body kind of. I think I started talking about the problems on the Wizard of Oz set in the 1960s, and my friends were like, "What's going on with you?" And then I was like, "I don't think I'm gonna do ketamine again." That was weird.
And
Do you
then
think
did you?
you
Sorry, do
go
I have a
go go?
question? Did you then accuse your friend of being on the Epstein files?
Do-
Was
I
that
didn't.
is that a
No,
side effect?
nor did I did a Nazi. No, nor did I do a Nazi salute.
Yeah,
And so
so
I
none
don't
of
think
these
we can.
things are justified by
Yeah.
ketamine.
we'll
Do
see.
you
Also,
think
I
that
just
you could
want to
have like
say,
yeah?
I've never done Substack Live before. Is Emily Fine? Is that your mother, Sam?
Oh my God! Yes.
Because
Hi,
Emily
mom.
Fine commented that's an insult to herpes earlier, and it occurred to me that that was Sam's mother making a comment on our Substack
Oh,
Live.
You.
I
I
just want to
love
say
that,
hi, Emily. It's nice to see you here.
that is.
mom. It's a pleasure. I'm gonna tone down my jokes and rhetoric here.
Last question on ketamine, Laura. Do you feel like you could have balanced the budget or done any responsible cutting of the federal budget on ketamine?
No, but I also probably couldn't do that sober, to be fair.
All right. So Sam, I interrupted you. If you want to
Oh
follow up
no,
on that thought, or we
yeah.
can move
I
on.
was just saying is it's been and for Elon, so he's burned his bridges from a professional standpoint in terms of Tesla. He's risking government contracts now. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but I don't think it's like impossible to see a future in which Trump does move to nationalize Space Force. I mean, that's what Steve Bannon wants. My boss JVL wrote about it, saying, "Look, it makes actual sense for them to nationalize Space Force. You shouldn't have um, a company so integral to U.S. operations in space controlled by someone who threatens them so willy nilly." And then so there's that, and then what is his political home going forward? Right, he's called for a third party now.
With the
He's threatening.
80% in the middle, the
Yeah,
80% in the middle.
sure. We've been there before. And then I'm not sure, like, and I don't think, for instance, that Democrats are going to like welcome him back. I know this is kind of a chatter on the left and maybe in political schools, but like again, he's very deeply unpopular. He's done a lot of damage to the country. I don't think Democrats will forgive him for that just because he's super rich and his wealth is being challenged directly right now. So we were talking about who is winning this fight or who has the majority of the cards, and it's very evident to me that it's Trump.
Laura, should Democrats take this guy back?
Absolutely not. I mean, there's no way to show that you're less principled than only literally caring about money and sort of being willing to take any guy. Elon, sorry, I get upset when I talk about this. The between the Sig Heils, the training his AI bot to be obsessed with insisting that white genocide is real, buying Twitter in order to buy the election. I mean, yesterday he literally admitted that he bought the election for Trump. And so being willing to sell your souls because the guy is rich, I mean, you'll never get voters' trust ever again.
All right, not to bring down the fun of all of this, because yesterday was, I mean, these are cartoonish like buffoons that also just happen to have the two most important labels in the world, president and richest, man. You can't, as many people have said, you can't make this shit up. But I felt yesterday like we were we were experiencing the sort of the next stage in our like democratic decline, and that is the sort of breakup between an oligarch and the leader of the country, like like the stuff we saw in Putin's Russia, and in Hungary, when these guys that help them come to power, often in the media, but sometimes in the extraction industries, but some big important industry, and then they have a falling out. And then, you're Khodorkovsky, or I hope I'm remembering his name correctly, or one of the other, Russian oligarchs. There are many more in Hungary whose names aren't household names, that are suddenly on the enemies list. And so when Trump says, "Oh, I'm going to cut all his contracts," and Steve Bannon, the sort of id of like weaponizing the state, that sort of theory of government, when he says, "Oh, he should be investigated and prosecuted and
deported."
That to me, not that I don't, I'm not necessarily defending Elon Musk, but I certainly don't want to live in a world where that's where we are. That it's like it's normal that we all are like, oh yeah, well, Trump's going to now get back at this guy using the federal government. Is that too? Am I being too?
No,
Am I being too high-minded here?
not at all. I mean, I had this kind of I had these dual tensions that you're getting at yesterday, where you're watching this and you're like, oh my God, refresh, refresh, refresh. What are they saying now? And it's like you can't stop watching. And frankly, I think it's totally justifiable to be wildly entertained with it. It was madness, and it mattered. And also like we're just not accustomed to anything like that. And then you kind of like step back and you're like, oh, this is the president, and he's like engaged in this stuff, and this is a guy who's like in charge of some serious amount of wealth and major companies, and he's spending all his waking hours engaged in this stuff, and you're like, shouldn't they be like working? Right? Shouldn't they be doing like the stuff that like matters? Um, and that's not even getting to what you're talking about, which is like, do we want to live in a country where like you turn on the president and suddenly you get disappeared, right? Like, is that what I mean, we're seeing it on a lower level, and it's troubling, certainly. And so I just think, it is, I'm not like poo-pooing people for finding this interesting and entertaining, and I'm guilty as hell of it. Like, I was certainly live tweeting it too, but it is scary too. I mean, there's like a real scary element to this, which is we're in this reality where these people are not emotionally grounded, frankly.
Yeah. Laura, I was thinking, imagine these were two behind the scenes players in business suits and very reserved, and a traditional president and a sort of, more normal archetype of a rich guy who didn't own Twitter and didn't have these cartoonish public lives the way that Trump and Musk do, and we found out that there was this blow up, and the one guy who funded the election, it seems like he was really pissed off that he didn't get the policy preferences he wanted, and so he's suddenly leaking and accusing the president of all sorts of awful things, and then the president is retaliating. I always think with Trump, if this wasn't all in public, if it was in private, and then it all was disclosed, what the reaction would be. And then we found out that the president was threatening to defund his companies, which rely on all of this government money. But it had none of the slapstick of the insanity of like these Twitter and Truth Social, or X and Truth Social, and the cartoonish qualities of it. If it had played out that way, it would be so different.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're so desensitized to huge news and to sort of terrifying developments under this administration, because every single day they've flooded the zone, by design, on purpose. And so yesterday was, we were all sort of bathing in the schadenfreude of watching these two men go at each other's throats and sort of destroy each other. But like Sam said, if you step back, the amount of just singular revelations that would have been massive news under any other administration. Elon admits on Twitter, you would have lost the election without me. He just straight up admits that he bought the election, right?
Yeah.
And then Trump says, well, I can direct my DOJ to start investigating. So now he's admitting that He's using the DOJ for political purposes. Elon, he's taking away $38 billion in government contracts sort of reveals how much NASA and the military and Elon and Trump are like, how much money they both have invested in each other, and how much money and military contracts are at the whims of these two men and their egos. And then the deportation thing, like Bannon saying, well, we should go ahead and deport that. Yes, even that being an option by someone who was a former actual presidential advisor, Trump advisor, and then Elon saying that Trump is a pedophile. I mean, like all of these things.
Wait,
like it's
you
like
didn't, you didn't even get to the most crazy part.
What?
Elon, senior advisors of the president, said he should be impeached. I mean,
impeached? I hadn't even gone there.
Imagine.
Just casually yet.
We were just talking about this on the pod this morning. Yeah, we were talking about this pod this morning. Can you imagine like Karl Rove during the Bush years being like, you know what, he should be impeached? We'd be like, what the fuck? That's crazy. Like, but that's what happened yesterday. It happened.
And on that he wants JD Vance to be running the country. On the flip side of that, it's like you can also dismiss all of this and say, well, none of this is serious, and these guys Elon could be back in the Oval Office tonight with where they do a little press thing and be like, we patch things up, and Elon endorses the bill. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but but none of us would be that shocked if it did.
No,
I wouldn't be shocked.
Mm-mm.
Let me ask. I want to talk about what Musk actually achieved. What did he achieve besides? Two things. One, because when you mentioned pedophilia, I can't help but point out that this seems to be like a go-to accusation that Musk uses. Do you remember he accused some random guy?
Yeah,
the guy that saved the kids in the cave in Thailand, called him a pedo. That was so weird.
Right. And I think he ended up in a big settlement with him. I believe that guy sued him for defamation. I don't know if you guys saw this a couple of weeks ago. Bill Gates went on social media and very, in a very reserved Bill Gates way was like, hey, Elon, you're the richest person in the world. And you're taking money from the poorest, or, you're basically killing children. And instead of engaging in the debate, what did Elon do? He mentions like Bill Gates as like a pedophile, essentially, tying him to Epstein. And so now this is the third time he's accused someone of pedophilia. So this is a trend.
Crazy trend, Ryan.
There's no question here. I just need to point that out. So what did he achieve in government? What did he get out of this?
Nothing. I mean, ultimately he shut down USAID, and made some cuts here and there, and elected. Obviously, he did achieve. I shouldn't say nothing. He helped Donald Trump get elected, which is something, a lot. And then he helped put people in place in critical positions that will do things like lax regulations on cryptocurrencies, right? Like that's not nothing. Doge will end up being a massive failure. I mean, he did cut USAID, and if you believe that that's important, then congrats, you got that done. But there's a piece in the Post this morning about how all these agencies are like frantically trying to rehire the people that Doge cut, and shocked. I think
because Elon. I didn't see that piece, Sam, but because Elon is gone, or
because a bit of both, but it's mostly because they realize that they can't carry out their functions with this.
Oh, I see.
With slash staff, and that includes actually some USAID officials who the State Department is now saying, "Hey, come on back, we need help." One of the more underappreciated but telling stories of the Trump years was about the Doge person that ultimately came in to help run the VA. And this person was not like a crazed, Muskite. He was just a, private sector individual who was coming in to like create efficiencies and all that stuff. And he got there and he kind of looked under the hood. He spent a little time, took it seriously, and ultimately discovered that the VA was actually working fairly well. Like the IT system certainly needed to be upgraded. The call system was not like working as efficiently as it could. But he was like, you know what? I expected it to be a lot worse, and it wasn't. And now I'm just kind of trying to tinker around the edges and make it better. And that was a huge indictment of Doge, but it was also a huge indictment of the worldview that they brought to it. And I think ultimately, Elon's legacy, and this is like, this is probably why he's so angry, and I was like, he didn't accomplish much of anything, and in fact was kind of humiliated by the entire process.
And so, Lori, to take this one, I mean, the big question for me is, did Elon ever care about any of that stuff, or did he just jump in with the chainsaw and going to CPAC and becoming, MAGA branded, because at the end of the day he wanted to save the EV credits and had a few other, important goals that were just related to Tesla and SpaceX, and all the rest was just pure, bullshit. He never cared about that. And when finally he like lost that big policy battle, this is sort of the view of, I guess, of the White House right now, and sort of the view of Trump, that it's just about the EV credits and this policy battle. And when he lost that, he did actually, as Trump said, lose it. Or did Elon ever believe in the great things he was doing by making sure that people with HIV in Africa didn't have access to medication?
I think Elon fundamentally doesn't believe in government or public service or a government that actually provides anything to its citizens. I think he sees it. I think he believes has a vision of this, that the future is a tech oligarchy, right? And I think he came in wanting to smash as much of the government as he could, and then kind of offer his own privatized solutions to the things that he broke. Let's then replace everything with Starlink, and I'll buy up the postal service and run it as a for-profit thing. I think he sees the government as a business and thinks it should be for-profit and run efficiently, like Tesla or like one of his companies, like SpaceX. And he fundamentally doesn't understand the concept of a government that simply exists to make its citizens' lives better, and to, the concept of soft power, of helping other people abroad. Like that just doesn't register with him, because he lacks sort of human empathy, which he admitted in an interview once. He was like, I think empathy is a weakness in Western civilization. I just don't think he
Agreed.
has it. I don't think he understands concern for other human beings. He doesn't have that.
Yeah, he certainly never
Laura,
demonstrated it.
I don't think you were that empathetic to me when we worked together, for what it's worth.
Sam, you were my boss. You were the man. So we'll take up how much I was earning at HuffPost after this call.
Oh, whoa, okay.
Wow, this got serious fast.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
I think this is great. I've got no stake in this. So, no. I think
Actually,
in the
Sam is a pedo. No, I'm kidding. Sorry.
Whoa, Jesus, Laura.
I was cosplaying the Trump breakup. Sorry, it's a joke.
Okay.
I'm
stuck live with her.
I think you guys should do like a joint ketamine session with a licensed therapist.
Ayahuasca, Sam. We'll go into the desert.
No.
Let's do that as a Substack Live. Yeah,
if we can get Elon there, maybe.
All right, in the comments, everyone is talking about data, and I will say this is one where I don't think we have a lot more questions than answers. And if you read the Doge stuff really, really closely, it was really easy to start believing things that sound very conspiratorial, but were being reported that they were going into agency by agency and breaking down the silos that the federal government has created to protect the massive amount of data that it has on Americans, and had some kind of vision of compiling it all and unleashing chatbots on it to make things more efficient, like the stuff out of like Orwell, right? Like there's a reason libertarians for years have worried about this kind of scenario, right? And I think the reporting is very unclear about how close to that awful vision they got, or what they actually did, but they definitely were like laser focused on data, on going and targeting the chief information officers, these formerly career bureaucrats that they turned into a political position, getting the passwords to the sort of most important data sets in each agency. I think I don't know if either of you have answers, but when you look at that stuff, one, how scary is it, and what do we know was accomplished?
I don't have any like original reporting on it. I think My sense is that there was a couple things going on here. One was there was like this really actually genuinely held belief that a massive amount of government services and benefits were being sent to dead people, undocumented illegal immigrants.
You think they believe that
Um,
shit though?
I think Stephen Miller
Yeah.
believes this shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think he does, and I think to the degree that that crossed over the Doge mission, for sure. I think they also probably wanted to, you know, apply AI technology to the degree that they're able to government services, under probably a genuine belief that you could basically replace human beings with, technology, and whether that was because they wanted efficiency or they wanted the contracts for the government services, you can debate that yourselves. But then, a lot of it, and when you're just talking about data, a lot of it was just sort of misrepresented, right? Like, he had all this shtick about Social Security benefits for people who are like 180 years old, and it was just a misread of the Social Security Administration data. And then they would talk about these NIH studies and CDC studies that were like, they're, looking at mouse semen and all that stuff. And it's like, they were just classically misrepresenting studies to make them seem comically stupid, when in fact there was real scientific purpose behind it. And that's where you get like a lot away from, hey, we're doing this because we want to create government efficiencies, to, hey, we have an ideology and it's about like reducing the size of government and or turning over huge swaths of the government to companies. And I think that's the legacy. Is like, it wasn't, and it really was it ideology? Probably not. It was probably about figuring out ways to get tech companies more involved in government because it's very profitable for them and they make a lot of money from it.
Laura, what do you think of the legacy of the sort of Orwellian data project that had so much reporting early on in this administration, and then kind of fizzled, or at least to me at least, there's no kind of final word on what the hell happened with this vision that they talked about. And I think the Doge guys were going into these agencies, having these conversations with longtime staffers who were then reporting back to the press, like, "Hey, this is what these guys are talking about doing." It seems to me that was how that stuff got generated. But I, did they accomplish it? Or should we be as scared as some of our friends in the comments here are?
I mean, I think the problem is that they didn't exactly know how to go about what they were trying to do, and so they used AI for a lot of it. And so they just kind of put in various terms that they thought signaled woke or signaled DEI or signaled things, and ended up getting rid of some really vital. That's why they keep having to rehire people they fired, because they're firing really vital. Like, remember in the was it Trump's sort of State of the Union or State of the Union like address, where he said there's a study where we're making mice transgender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they had cut that study, and it was like it turned out it was like a transgenic mice, and they had misunderstood what the word. You know what I mean? So
Yes,
I feel like a
yes,
lot of this
yes.
is just rank stupidity, and now they're trying to put the pieces back together, and a lot of the projections are saying, Doge is going to end up costing taxpayers more than it saved, and I think that's what's really humiliating.
The last thing about this, I'll let you guys go. It's Friday afternoon. Weather's nice. But the thing that I was glued to last night was Fox News, because I just really wanted to pay close attention to see how this is playing out in conservative media. And I don't want to give the full report on my 6 hours of watching Fox, but I don't know how much you guys watch, but and naturally Hannity did lead with the auto
The auto
pen.
pen, yeah.
But he did, he had Caroline Levitt on and doing her weekly briefing for the Hannity viewers. He got into it a little bit. Obviously, he dismissed it. But I'm curious how you think this will play in MAGA world. Did Trump create someone in Elon Musk that actually has any kind of base? Is there any, just go back to where we started, is there potential damage that he can do to him politically? Like, did he become MAGAfied enough that MAGA people might choose Elon over Trump? I'm just sort of curious how you guys see this playing out in the various right wing silos.
I think one way it might hurt him a little is peeling off, like giving people like the Ron Pauls, or the Rand Pauls, and Ron Johnson's sort of cover to peel off support from the Republican bill because it increases the deficit. Like um, it certainly got everyone on Twitter talking about the deficit and raising the debt ceiling and all of those things, which Republicans sort of didn't want to call attention to. And secondly, I think if there's an actual rift with Elon in which Elon, and if it's a break that doesn't repair, then they lose the power of Elon funding primaries against people that vote against Trump. That money power arm that was sort of forcing Republicans to go along with everything Trump wanted, that which Elon was doing while he was in Washington. And I think if they lose that sort of threat of Elon's going to fund your primary, it does defang Trump a little bit.
Yeah.
First,
Yeah.
I'll just say I'm a little bit worried about your evenings. 6 hours is a lot for Fox News, Ron. Secondly, I just
I
think
may
we
have
need to think about
exaggerated a little bit, probably like 4. But I was really Jesse Pill.
Jesse Waters was pretty good. I saw him.
Right? See,
Yeah.
Sam's just being quiet about this. He did the same. He had the same.
I watched the
night.
highlights.
But
I will say this does. I think this is a really interesting illustration of how you called silent, but it is silos, but there's multiple silos now. Like the modern media ecosystem is not homogenous at all. And yes, the Fox News audience, or we don't really know about the audience, but the anchors on Fox News clearly were like, Team Trump in this. They were just trying to urge Elon to back off. They had, the administration officials were on Fox talking about this. Hannity was trying to distract from it. But if you go on Twitter, which is Elon's platform, it's different. It really is different. And just one anecdote, which is, Stephen Miller was out there 2 days ago trying to defend the big beautiful bill, or whatever you want to call it. And if you just scrolled through the replies, it was just like, Elon's right, you're wrong. Elon's right, you're wrong. And it's just like, Elon has his own echo chamber. Elon controls the algorithm. This is what makes it a little bit more of a dangerous breakup than normal, is that Elon, in addition to money, does have this megaphone.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people on it. And frankly, there are fewer and fewer people watching cable news. And that is, something that you have to factor into when you consider how this all plays out. It doesn't mean that I don't think Trump has the upper hand, but it's just not the same as like the old days where you could, use 3 or 4 different outlets and get your message out. There's many ways to do it. Also, I would just say one other thing. Elon was sent 30 or 40 tweets yesterday. It was insane, rapid fire stuff. And Trump was bleeding every now and then, but it's it used to be that Trump was the one who was doing that to other people, and in this case, he got a little taste of his own medicine. And so there is that other component about the media ecosystem, which is that it's Elon's kind of a brute force there too.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got a few cards to play still, and that is the Twitter algorithm. If he chooses, if this goes on, I mean, he tweeted so much that some of the craziest tweets had not even gotten that much attention. For instance, I don't know if you saw what he called Bannon, but he did either of you see this? See this?
The retard, the communist retard.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
We're allowed to say that.
You just went ahead and said it,
Sam.
Sam. Jesus
2.0.
Christ.
I know.
Hey, yeah, you're allowed to say
Stein is canceled. Sorry, Mom.
Wow. I'm gonna clip that. I'm gonna clip that.
I'm just quoting Elon Musk. That's all.
No, he said that. And the other one that is a little ominous if you're Republicans, but they're so they're short-sighted. But he had that thing about Trump's got 3.5 years. I'll be around for whatever it was, 40 plus. Optimistic there, but not unreasonable. And we'll see if he actually follows through on that, or he actually cares about politics next week. But I don't. I think long term, he's the richest man in the world with one of the most powerful media platform, at least in the conservative world. He could, if he wants to be totally irresponsible and reckless, he could really fuck some stuff up in the coming weeks.
No doubt.
So Any final words? Do you guys want anything we should talk about in terms of Huffington Post history that we didn't get to?
No, yeah, I just want to
No,
be clear. It
Sam,
was one of the best times of my life.
it was so fun. To be earnest for a minute, yesterday, more than I mean, I've had a lot of time since my days in a newsroom, particularly that DC HuffPost newsroom with Sam and Ryan and the crew, where I missed a newsroom. Yesterday, I missed being in a newsroom so badly. I was just, you know, like that, the camaraderie of like when a big news day happens and everyone's shouting the little updates.
Yeah.
Like,
we were shouting in Bulwark HQ when another tree would have been, oh my God.
yeah. I wish I could have been there.
Yeah.
No, but those were the glory days, and Sam was an excellent boss. And I'm sorry I called him a pedo. I was joking.
No, he's great. He's great. He was a great colleague when we worked together at Politico. Laura, it was great to see you. Sam, let's do this again soon.
Thanks, Ron.
Enjoyed it. And thank you all. Take care.